where the truth gets clear. Every voice matters, every story's heard here. From home to the headline, she's breaking it down. Clarity and courage, that's how justice sounds. Order in her court, no matter the scene. From love and the law to what's on your screen. Family fun and the world we chase. Obreziah Bullard, justice in its place. Where we are, every word, every view. Justice isn't just served, it's tailored for you.
Hello, hello, hello. I am Obreziah Bullard. I would love to welcome you to Order in Her Court. This is a time where I'm launching my podcast full of family, full of fun, full of current topics. I am a family law attorney licensed in Georgia, but I want to get to know you all. This is my first lunch. I want you to know me. I want to know you. And I want to tell you who you're going to be meeting and interacting with. So let's start with a little bit about me. My name is Obreziah Bullard. I am in Georgia. I am a family law attorney. I've been practicing for 12 years, but I did not start in the family law arena. So honestly, I'm a country girl. I was born, raised in this rural little city called Fort Valley. If you know about Georgia, one thing you will know is we are full of peaches. It's the peach state. Well, I'm from Peach County, where true peaches are grown, true peaches are planted. I'm a peach girl through and through. So I ended up in the metro Atlanta area only by way of law school, to be honest. So I like to tell people I am a country girl that is now residing on the outskirts of the city. But I'm definitely a country girl through and through. So how did I get to where I am now? How am I now in the metro Atlanta doing family law, which I love to do? I've been doing it for 12 years. It's simple. I always knew that I wanted to be an attorney. You know, sometimes people grow up and people ask you, what do you want to be? What do you want to do when you get older? What's your future like? And some people say, I don't know. I pretty much always knew I wanted to be an attorney. Now, at some point, I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician, but the goal was always the same. I always wanted to help people in some type of way, specifically kids. So I grew up knowing that I wanted to help people. I wanted to serve. I wanted to be a voice for those who didn't have a voice. So you may say, okay, well, how do you do that now? What do you mean? I went to law school. I knew I wanted to work with kids. I thought I wanted to be a child's attorney, and I hated it. To be honest, I hated it. I did some internships in school. And then I realized that was very, very hard on the soul. It was real hard on the heart. And at that stage in my life, I couldn't take it. It takes a special person to be able to deal and walk children through abuse and neglect and be able to advocate for them, because you take that on and you take that home with you. So at that point in time, I said, well, you know what? I still love children. What am I going to do? I still want to be a voice for them. And I was introduced to family law. And I would tell you guys, that is my passion. Everything about a family. I'm very close with my family. I have a husband. We have just celebrated our 15th year anniversary. We have 3 children. I have 2 beautiful bonus children. And I'm really, really big on family, because family shapes who you are. Everybody needs somebody. And I have taken that into my practice of law. And I'm really, really big on making sure people understand that family is not by blood. Family is not by title. Family is who you make them become. So how do I do that, right? Well, let's start with the types of family law that I do. I do divorces. First question I always get is, you're tearing families apart. So how do you say you're for families and you're tearing them apart? I mean, you're literally divorcing people who have children. Let me tell you, my parents divorced when I was very young, and that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. A family doesn't have to be a traditional family in one household. Sometimes you have to separate people to keep a family whole. Sometimes there are situations where people are not happy. You don't want a parent that is not a whole parent, because then they're not the best parent they can be for a child. And so actually my parents going through a divorce, I believe I was about 8 years old. I remember being in elementary school. I remember sitting down at the table. I remember my parents telling me they were getting divorced. And I remember not knowing what that meant. And I took it to mean, okay, well, they're just going to live in separate rooms. That'll be fine. And that was not the case. And I knew that feeling that I felt as a child, and not understanding, and the confusion, and not having someone understand that as children, they are people too. And as a little person, you need someone to explain to you in an age-appropriate manner how to get through the things that the adults are getting through. Now, with that being said, my parents ultimately got divorced. We ended up relocating just a short distance from my father. I still maintain a wonderful relationship with my father. And because of that, I realized divorces aren't bad. They don't have to be bad. And sometimes they're necessary just to keep a family together. Sometimes co-parenting apart is better than parenting under the same household, where it's toxic or it may not be healthy or someone just not happy. So the way I look at it is, in doing divorce, it is helping families. It is putting families back together in ways that they may not have been able to be together. So yes, I do divorces. That's a part of family law. I also do child support, where there's a family that is in need of financial assistance, where they are struggling. There may be another parent that is unable to help run a household because they just don't have adequate means to do so. So I help families get the financial assistance that they need. I do adoptions, and I love adoptions because that redefines the definition of family. And that is truly, as I started talking about earlier, what family is about. It's not about title. It's not about blood relationship. It's about what you create. And that's what adoptions allow you to do. So honestly, adoptions is one of my favorite things to do because you craft a new situation. And you can do step parent adoptions. You can do third party adoptions. You can do relative adoptions. But you are accepting something as yours as a choice. And that's powerful. It's powerful when you get to choose who I want to bring into this dynamic that I call a family. So divorces, child support, adoptions, visitation, and father's rights. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, coming from a divorced household, you learn how important it is to make sure that both parents play a vital role in child rearing. You learn that once a household is separated, fathers or mothers, but in Georgia we have this thing called legitimation. So I'm going to speak directly to that. They have to have the rights to maintain, to continue that relationship with their children, because kids don't see parents fighting. And sometimes they do, but they don't understand it. All they understand is the love they have for the person individually. A bad husband, a bad wife could be an awesome father or an awesome mom. So it's very important to me that my fathers maintain their ability to be able to see their children, to have rights, to be able to visit, to have holiday time, Christmas time, birthday time, all those special memories that children will grow up and say, I remember when. We don't want them to say, I remember when I was just with mom or I was just with dad. I want them to say, I remember when I got to see my mom and then I went to my dad and I had 2 Christmases. I didn't have one. I had the ability to play in both households equally. So visitation rights, that's something that I also do. And I want to know what it is that you all do. How does your family play a part in your household? Because each household is different. So in family law, one thing that you learn is there's no cookie cutter family at all. What works for one family and the morals, the values, and the beliefs that they implement for their family is not the same that is implemented in another. And so one thing that I want to engage with you as we're going on this podcast journey is how to make the dynamics work with you. some tools, some tricks, some help natures that I can give you on what can help guide you through your family situation. And it may not be a legal situation. It may not just be a custody battle. It may not be a child support battle. It may be, okay, Attorney Bullard, I'm a mom. I multitask. I juggle working. I juggle a household. I juggle extracurricular activities. What are some tips and tricks that help you get through the day? Because you're an entrepreneur. You have a firm. You have 3 minor children within your household, all full of extracurricular activities and sports. What are some of those tricks? So I want to provide that to you. I want to help show you things that help me on a day-to-day basis get through those things. So this is not going to be a podcast where we're just talking law and legalese and things of that nature. No, this is going to be one where we're engaging. We're learning from each other. You're helping me. I'm helping you. And that is the goal. So you are here in order in her court. Her court is wherever we sit. Today, we may be in the realm of legal talk. Tomorrow, we may be in the realm of social media talk. But that's going to be our court for the day. So welcome, and I look forward to seeing everything and talking to you and engaging with you. Welcome to Order in Her Court. Do I have siblings? Let me tell you about my household, my family, as we were growing up before my parents divorced. I am the youngest of 4. I am the baby, so you know what they say about babies. I have an oldest sister, I have a middle sister, and I have a brother. He is the prince of the family, obviously. And we were a blended family, believe it or not. So my oldest sister has a different father. My father, I believe, raised her from the time she may have been 2 or 3. We have a large age gap, so I wasn't born, obviously, so I'm not really sure, but we are a blended family. And that was my first take on a positive blended family, because I saw my mom co-parent so well with her father, and I saw my father raise her like his own. I will tell you all that for the longest, I grew up calling her father uncle. I honestly didn't realize she had a different father. And never did he correct me. Never did he say, I'm not your uncle. So for the longest, until I probably honestly got to middle school, I thought her father, who is no relationship to me, was my uncle. Now, the dynamics and how powerful a blended family can be, not only did I call her dad uncle, her whole side of her dad's family were my family. So her grandmother, I thought it was normal to have 3 grandmothers. I just thought it was normal, because all I knew was going to her grandmother's house saying, hey, grandma, and her bringing me in, giving me juicy fruit chewing gum. If you're from the South in Georgia, you know you're going to get juicy fruit chewing gum and some bananas. And so that was my first positive interaction with a blended family, was from my own family. Being the youngest, getting a chance to see my mom interact with my oldest sister's father, and how we would go fly out to Texas, because he didn't live in state, and visit there with her. So that was my first interaction with a positive blended family. Now, me as a child, let me just say, my mom always told me your gift is in your mouth, because I talk too much. And I probably still talk too much, honestly, to this day. But I was a really, really social child. I was one of the kids that I was involved. I tried at least to be involved in everything I could. I wanted to be everywhere. And I was a child that spoke things into existence at a very young age. So growing up, I would tell my mom, I am going to Florida. Had never been to Florida. But when I transitioned to high school, I started working at a very young age. And I always had at least one, if not 2 jobs, right? So I would tell my mom, I'm going to Florida. And she would say, well, I don't know how. We don't have the finances for you to go to Florida. I was a child where when I said it, it was going to happen. I spoke it into the atmosphere. And at that point, it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of how. I call it reckless faith. I've had reckless faith since I was little. So I would make a way. I was very determined. I was very outspoken. I was not a child that shied away from being in the spotlight or shied away from standing my ground. My mother would typically tell me, you have a gift in your mouth. And we'll have an episode talking about speaking life into your children and shaping them and molding them. Because I can tell you from a very young age, from her telling me and me hearing, you have a gift in your mouth, I knew that whatever I did, it was going to be associated with me speaking. And so she spoke that into me, and she always would tell me, you just have to learn how to control it. Because with every gift, there's something about learning how to taper it and using it in the way that it should be used. So as a child, interactive, fun, outgoing, talkative, for sure, talkative. But I would like to say I was a very good child. I would like to say so. Growing up, I remember one thing that I looked forward to every single summer, and that was Bible camp. And I look forward to Bible camp because my mom worked there. So we would go and we would be there all summer. From the time that school got out until a couple of weeks before school went back. It felt like all summer. It could have been the day before. I don't know. But that was the best time. We stayed in cabins the whole summer. There was us getting up. We would get up to a whistle. We will get dressed. We will run out. We would have exercise and devotion in the morning. We would have different classes throughout the day. We would have arts and craft. We would have swim time. We learned so much, and it was truly a campground site. So this is not a camp that we have traditionally today where you drop the kids off and you come pick them back up. This is something where you signed up for the week, and because my mom worked there, I was there all summer. We would go, and it was a good time. So I really, really remember, shout out to Community Bible Church. Those camps, those Bible camps instilled so many values in me, so many morals. You talk about the crust of my foundation. That's where the crust came from. It wasn't just going to church every Sunday, because we were doing that too, and going to Bible study on every Wednesday, because we were doing that too. But it was the times that it wasn't a real formal atmosphere. It was the times where we were singing Bible songs and learning Bible verses by way of a song, where Miss Davis would come in her 60s and say, we're having stretch class. And we were there doing jumping jacks at 7 o'clock in the morning, not feeling like we were in this rigorous atmosphere, but having fun. When Miss Carolyn would say, let's sing a song, the Bible. And we would sing songs and make them up. If I could go back to those days and times where I didn't even know life was simple, but it was simple, I would go back, because I love Community Bible Church Bible Camp in Jeffersonville, Georgia, and going there every single summer. I love it. One of the perks of being the baby in the family is being shielded from a lot. So growing up, a lot of things that went on that would be considered trauma, or things that my older siblings had to endure or see or witness, I didn't see it. So that's a blessing and a curse, because being the youngest, not only was I shielded by my parents, but I also was shielded by my front line, my siblings, to make sure as the baby I was protected in all aspects. Even to this day, there are things that I think I just don't know, because I didn't witness it. I didn't see it. I know my parents got divorced. I don't really understand the why behind it. I understood they kind of grew apart. And honestly, I probably don't want to understand at this stage in my life because I grew up shielded from it. And that was the blessing. But I also think that's kind of a curse because there's something about hardship that shapes a person. And because I was shielded from it, I didn't learn the lessons that come through it. And so when I think about things that have shaped who I am, my first memory really comes in college, when I became independent, when I had to start making adult decisions. I'm in college thinking I'm an adult. Little do I know, I'm far from an adult as a freshman in college. But that's when I really started realizing things in life and having to overcome imposter syndrome and realizing that you are enough. Because growing up, I didn't hear that in the household. I didn't hear that you are enough. You can do all things. Or I didn't hear those affirmations that we typically give our kids now. Now, because I was the child that I am or I was, I didn't doubt myself, but that was my personality. But I didn't hear it. When I went to college and I transitioned in this environment where it's very competitive and in this environment where everybody is enough, then that imposter syndrome started sitting in. And I had to learn how to overcome that and how to reaffirm what God has already told me growing up. And that is, you can do all things through me because I'm going to strengthen you. Because I really started doubting myself. I started believing like I'm not smart enough. I don't have what it takes. And especially coming from a very small city. You can't come to Atlanta. You can't make it in law school where these families these other people are coming from families. Their grandfathers are lawyers. Their parents are lawyers. And you're just a country girl from Fort Valley. What can you do? So I really had to overcome that. I think another thing I had to overcome is, I don't know if a lot of people realize, but I had my daughter in college. My oldest daughter is 16 now, but I was a senior going into my senior year of college when I became pregnant with her. So now I have something else in my ear. You can't do it. You can't go to law school. You're a senior in college with a baby. Who does that? And so I really had to tap into my faith. Growing up, if I saw it, I wanted it, I got it. I'm like that now, honestly. And I had to really start back speaking life into myself. And then I had to reach out to my circle. Being the baby is a privilege because just as they shielded me from all these things that I shouldn't have saw, they also pushed me into everything they saw in me. So my siblings would consistently tell me not going is not an option. My sister Angel said, look, whatever we got to do, baby coming with us, but you can do it. And you have a support system and your family is going to support you. So getting through hurdles of imposter syndrome, getting through hurdles of now having this little one that I was determined I was going to raise. I was not going to say, hey, Mom, can you raise my baby while I go to law school? I said very early on, she is my child. I will raise her and I will do it while going to law school. And I did it. But it was a hurdle. It was challenging. I'm not going to sit here and say it was easy. There was long nights, early mornings. I think daycare helped raise her from 6 to 6:30 for maybe a good year. But God surrounded me with people that are now my family that were strangers at the time to really assist me and ordered and ordained certain pieces of the puzzle to be placed just right. And so I've had some challenges, but we've overcome them for sure. When I found out I was pregnant, I had individuals inform me that my future was so big that this distraction, i.e. my baby, because I was pregnant, didn't need to get in the way. And that because of that, I need to get rid of the problem because I was already headed in a direction and didn't need to get distracted. And I actually had family that told me that I would not be able to do it if I'd keep my child. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm gonna prove them wrong. I'm going to show them that I can do it. And the way I did it was I was in this organization in college called Dimes. Dimes was just a little fashion model. I did pageantry growing up. So I was really, really excited to be able to just walk a runway. And the joke of the organization was, where's our nickel? Because she was considered the nickel. When I would go to practice, when I took a leadership position, I became president, she was right beside me on my hip. Because I told myself, although the family member said, you can't do it with her, I would not do it without her. And that kind of shaped my senior year of college, where everywhere I went, she went to. And even going into law school, I remember 1 or 2 classes that she had to go with me because life happens. Daddy's working. She doesn't feel well, whatever. Life happens. So one thing for sure is be careful what you allow other people to speak into your life. Because when they tell you what you can't do, know that you can do it at any point, at any time, with the authority that you give yourself, and that God speaks into you, not what they say to you. So I struggled a lot with imposter syndrome. And to be very transparent, I still struggle with it today. And for me, imposter syndrome is never feeling like you're good enough. It's everybody around me is better than me. And one thing about imposter syndrome is all here. And what you think about yourself is far from reality. So you struggle and you tell yourself, I'm not good enough. They're smarter than me. They're better than me. They have more resources than I have. They came from a better lineage than I came from. When you're telling yourself all of those things, then you're really just telling yourself, I'm not good enough. And I didn't even know what it was called, to be honest. I think I really just found that out maybe about 2 years ago. I just knew how I felt. And so even to this day, when I start to feel like I'm not good enough or that imposter syndrome starts to set in, I ask myself, and I actually took this from one of my colleagues. She said, why not you? And I couldn't answer the question because I thought to myself, you're right. Why not? Well, why not me? I have just as much of the ability to do something as anybody else. And so as I went through, it started in college. As I went through struggling with it in college, struggling with it, especially in law school, when that was a very cutthroat environment. Law school is very competitive. Everybody wants to be the top of their class. When you gather in a room where everybody is smart, now it's a competition of who's the smartest. And I think even though I had imposter syndrome from a very early age, it grew times 10 when I went to law school. But just that one conversation that I had with my colleague, when they told me, why not you? That's what I asked myself. So when I'm feeling those questions, when I'm asking myself or thinking to myself, I'm not good enough, I ask myself, why not? What makes me not good enough? And I can never answer it. So coming into law school, I had a very different mindset. And this goes back to you never know how what you believe to be a shortcoming becomes a setup, right? I came in law school not really caring about what other people thought of me. I cared more about getting out. Because remember, I came into law school a baby. So my goal was to get in and to get out. I was very much focused on not trying to prove to someone that I was the biggest, I was the best, but doing my best. And so a lot of times I'm in this environment where people are assuming that I'm competing with them, and they're assuming that I'm one of the people that are trying to hide papers, rip papers out of the book so you wouldn't have the information, hide books, go to the professor's office to try to tell them things that are not true. Those are types of things that really were going on in law school. People would try to find a way for you not to be successful. And they assumed everybody was doing the same thing. But that just wasn't me. I genuinely was just trying to get in, learn the material, make good grades, and get out. And because of that, I actually graduated law school early. So typically, law school should be a 3-year process. But because I had this little one over here that we're going to talk about mom guilt too. I already had mom guilt because daycare had her from 6 in the morning to 6:30 in the evening. My only focus was, let me do a job, let me do it to the best of my ability, and let me finish. And I did so in 2.5 years instead of 3. And that little person that was supposed to be my distraction, you remember I was supposed to, kind of get rid of because I had this goal here. She actually became my biggest motivation and my biggest push to push me into my calling, because I wanted to make sure every time I looked down that I was doing things that would be honorable to her. And even though she was 2 at the time, she didn't know what honorable mean. But I wanted to make sure that she can look up to me and say, my mommy did it. My mommy finished, and I'm so proud of my mommy. And I got my mommy back. That was probably the most important thing, honestly, is I got my mommy back. So that pushed me to complete it. But it was a very tough environment. Very, I wouldn't call it hostile. I would just call it tense. It was a really tense environment. But of course, you find your circle, you find the support system, the people, the new family, as we define them, to help support you throughout the process. Listen, guys, I am super, super excited to be introduced to you all, for us to start this journey together. I just want us to be able to have an open dialogue to talk about those things that affect you directly. Legal, non-legal, it's going to be order in our court. And whatever our court is where we will be. So I look forward on traveling this journey with you all. Until the next podcast, see you later.